Welcome to another Minecraft Redstone video. This time around I got an automated system for you guys that can make dispensers. Dispensers are of course notoriously tedious to craft due to them requiring a non-stackable bow as part of the recipe. And yeah, that means if you need a lot of dispensers, you'll likely fill up your inventory with bows and then drag one by one into the crafting field, and it's just tedious, slow and annoying. So I thought it would be a fun little challenge trying to automate the system, trying to get them to autocraft, and it turns out that the thing that I came up with works well enough to be worth showing to you guys, so here we are. I'm going to start by talking you guys through the entire system, how it works, what it does, and how you can maintain the whole thing. And then we are going to go into a block by block building tutorial so you can recreate the whole thing for yourself. And actually this system just stopped, which is kinda good because I can then show you guys the maintenance stuff. So to start out with, let's go through all the required resources. Beginning with all the raw ingredients. You need sticks and strings to make the bows, and that can then be used in combination with redstone dust and cobblestone to make the dispenser. So we are dealing with very basic stackable items, and they are all being put into the input chest on the top here. There are two chests for the cobblestone, and both of them need to be stacked up, otherwise it's just not going to work. I had an early prototype with only one chest, but that made the crafting so much slower. So two chests make it work much better, and yeah, that's why I optimize it towards that. We also got the output chest right here with all the dispensers that you craft. And yeah, the entire thing is also just going to shut down if at any point the resources are getting too low. It's also going to check whether the output chest is full, and that's also going to stop it, so it's never going to break. You just fill up all the resources as good as you can and let it run for a while. It's going to produce more and more items, and if it ever runs out of anything, it's just going to stop, and all you need to do is restock and then hit the node block down here to restart it. So with my little sabotage, we just ran out of sticks over here, meaning that in order to get the thing going again, I just need to put in some sticks. And that's going to retract the piston down here, which is the one that stopped it from working. So now I just hit the node block and everything is going to just reset. And now that this piston is occasionally retracting, that means that the entire thing is working again. Making more and more dispensers, likely until the chest here will be full. Can also make that a bit quicker. And yeah, now the entire thing stopped working once more. And yeah, just need to empty out a few slots over here. And then it can be reset to work once more, just like that. Real quick and easy, and thankfully something that you don't need to actively monitor. So let's now talk about the stuff that's actually happening down below here, the actual crafting, because that was a bit of a problem I needed to figure out. The bow crafting is as easy as it can be. Just have the recipe put in here with stacked up items and have enough things flowing back in to keep that stocked up. The bows are going to be dispensed right into a hopper over here, only going to be here for a quick moment, and then be put into the next crafter. This might be another thing. If you play around with this, you might end up with a bow being stuck in here permanently, and that would also break it. So for the most part, this hopper is supposed to be empty. If there are any items in here, just make sure to take them out, and that should also help keep the thing running. But yeah, the big thing here is the dispenser crafting, because you need an empty slot in the middle for the bow to go into. And that means I had to lock all the hoppers on the outside, because otherwise I would get either cobblestone or redstone dust in the middle, and that would break the entire thing. So I'm locking the hoppers whenever there isn't any items in the center. And once the bow arrives, they are going to be unlocked just to refill all the stacks on the outside. And at that point, once enough time has elapsed, we are triggering both of the crafters simultaneously. So this one shoots out a dispenser, therefore has an empty slot in the middle again. And the other crafter shoots out the bow, and that goes right back into the middle slot. And then it's just a big old clock resetting the entire thing over and over. So yeah, that's how it works. And now let's get into the resources you need in order to rebuild this yourself. Of course, you need some building blocks. I would say about a stack. I'll be using slabs whenever I can, but most of the slabs could also be full blocks. It doesn't really matter. I just think it looks a lot less bulky if I use slabs wherever possible. Also helps understanding which things have certain functionality. There is one block in the system that actually needs to be a slab to avoid triggering something that shouldn't be activated. But I'll point that out once we get there. So for the most part, you can just use full blocks here. Besides that, we also need 2 sticky pistons, 1 observer, 1 node block, 3 repeaters, 12 comparators, about a stack of redstone dust, plus a bit more for the actual crafting, 8 redstone torches, 10 hoppers, 3 crafters, 12 chests, 3 target blocks, 1 barrel, 30 non-stackable items. I'm using wooden shovels here because those are kind of the cheapest, but you can use whatever. But yeah, these are going to be also necessary. And potentially 5 item frames. Just on top to mark out which thing goes into which chest can definitely help out a little bit. And in terms of the area that we need here, it's going to be 8 blocks wide, 4 blocks long, and 7 blocks high, plus maybe another block on top for the item frames. And due to all the input stuff being on top, you may want to make it in a way that you can access the top. Of course, you also need access to the node block over here, but that's something that you can maybe climb down to, just have a ladder and a trapdoor right here. That should work out quite well. But yeah, just in case you need to figure out how to access all the important parts. So let's get into the building. I'm going to choose this corner over here for the first block. And yeah, it's just going to be a corner block at the very bottom, with me looking at this with the long side going across here. From there, we want to put slabs on the 2 adjacent sides here and also the diagonal, just like this. And then do the same once more for this slab over here, so we end up with this little pattern. Now we want to place 4 more slabs going off from this little nook on the long side. So there should now be 2 more blocks left to the end here. And then we are going to fill in 3 more slabs to go fully across from one side to the other. Now we need the full blocks again, stacking up 3 blocks high and removing the lower 2. This now needs a sticky piston facing down from the bottom of that block, and another block on the short side adjacent to it, with another downwards facing sticky piston just like this, and the little helper block being removed now. Our observer goes in on the sticky side of that piston, facing the other piston. And we now need another temporary block for the node block in the corner over here. Can also keep it there, doesn't really matter. But yeah, now that part is set up how it should be. And we can now also move over and get a few different items, because we have just gotten rid of our sticky pistons and the observer that's also placed. We are going to need the target block next, and also the torches here. So let's get going with these. Starting with the repeaters, one needs to go between the two sticky pistons. Needs to be a 3-tick repeater facing the corner. And the second one is going to go on this narrow bit right before the corner. Can be a 1-tick, and yeah, that's all good to go now. Next up, comparators. One adjacent to the first repeater but facing the opposite direction. And the next one, once again, adjacent to the comparator we just put down, but also going the opposite direction again. So that leaves this little pattern. And from this point on, we need to just fill in everything else with redstone apart from this one block that the piston is facing. So redstone to the ends of the comparators, and then also going around over here. Now we can go and get all the target blocks in. The first one to the left of that repeater right here, and then just the rest adjacent to that, just like this. And that's basically the basement of the entire system done. Now we put some redstone torches on top of the target blocks and another set of blocks above those. So it looks all like this. The torch over here, closer to the repeater, is getting another block in front of it like this. And then another slab on the towards the middle torch on the top half once again. And another temporary block right on top of that with another one like this to make a T over here. We are then going to get rid of this connecting bit because that was just a temporary block. And now we basically got the foundation for our crafters. The bow crafter is going to go on this little end block, facing inwards towards the rest of the T. And on the middle of these 3 blocks we want an upwards facing crafter as well, just like this. And then we are also going to need hoppers. One hopper facing into the upwards facing crafter. And another 2 on top of the other blocks here. Make sure that all of them go into the crafter and none of them just point downwards. So yeah, this is how all of these should be looking. We can now also go and set up all of the crafters. So for the left one that's supposed to make the bows, we need to block off these, the other 3 slots, just like this. Then get some sticks in here. At least 2 in each slot for the middle and the right part. And then string across the left. Doesn't really matter how many items you put in here, at least 2 per stack I would say to be safe. Later down the line it's just going to fill up everything. But now it should give you a bow and no slot should be left empty. And this should be good to go now. The other crafter now needs the recipe for a dropper. So we take some cobblestone, put it all around here, not in the middle though. I mean, I can also just do it like this. In the end, it's all going to fill up over time. And to be safe, put a full stack of redstone dust at the bottom center slot. And the middle one, that's where the bow is going to go. So we leave that empty and open, just like this. And now we can also produce the bow simply by putting in the redstone dust on top of this slab over here. It fired the crafter. We can see that there's now only 1 stack left. And the bow successfully made it into its slot over here. So this is now all primed and ready to go. Now we need to connect the rest of the system. So this is actually going to be the full clock. Starting with a few slabs, 1 in the middle, 1 to the top over here. A temporary block right next to the crafter. Another one on the opposite side of the crafter right here. And adding another block like this. Also we need another slab adjacent to the downwards facing piston. and another one going over here. So this is what all of that should look like. And now we can fill that in with comparators. There's a reason why we need so many. Two go in here, one facing out from the crafter, one facing out from the hopper. Another one on this side of the block facing out from right here. So these are all going in a line facing the sticky piston. And another one going into that comparator. Now on to our last crafter. That's going to be adjacent to this comparator right here. Doesn't matter which direction it faces, it's just important that it's right next to this one. And we actually need to go in here and lock all the slots of the thing, just like that. And now this should be ready to go. We need another redstone torch on this block, just going off from here. And this should also now be ready. So honestly, this would now work. We have all the stuff going that it needs, but there are of course the monitoring system and all the chests that are needed. But for the basic system to make it run, this would be it. It would just run out of resources real quick and likely break due to there not being a functional shutoff. So let's add all of that. Starting with a few more hoppers. Going over here to this hopper and placing one that faces right into that. We also need to get the resources into this crafter, so we want one hopper on the end, another one on the top, and we can also put another one right on top of the end hopper right here. And yeah, the other side, the hopper between the two crafters right here, we just put a block on top of that. It's not technically needed, but it keeps us from putting anything in there accidentally. And now we just put another set of hoppers on top of all of these, and that's basically all of that done. We can now also grab the chests that we needed and put in all of those. We want one chest on top of the crafter here, another one going off from there, another chest on top of this hopper going off the same direction here, doing the same over here, and then having 3 double chests that go off from the middle and to the downwards direction like this. And that's all the inputs and outputs that we needed. So now on to the tricky stuff with all the surveillance and safety system. That's always kind of the biggest thing. So to start out with, we want to make sure that we monitor the output chests, and for that we need a comparator right here going out of the output chest. Another comparator goes into that one, and now we actually need the barrel and also our shovels. So yeah, let me grab the barrel. We put that right here on top of the redstone torch. I set on top. And we want to fill the entire thing with shovels. This is going to make sure that this is only ever giving an output signal whenever the chest is full. And due to this not being in subtraction mode, so yeah, we want the torch over here to be off. That's going to mean that the output signal will be full strength whenever it reaches that point. But yeah, this is now all going well. So let's grab another few blocks and put them on top of these lower comparators. And we will also want another slab over here, adjacent to this hopper that goes into the crafter. And we want another comparator right here, facing out from this hopper, and another block over here with a redstone torch to the side of it and another block on top of it. And last but not least, redstone dust over here going right onto the crafter and then onto the block that's on top of this piston. And we can also put down redstone dust on top of the barrel. This is why I had to use the barrel. I needed something that can take the redstone dust and also have an output signal like this, but doesn't interfere with anything else. Okay, let's go over to this side and finish off this part. We need another slab on this block and a comparator facing out from this hopper over here. Then we need another block adjacent to this slab right in the corner. Redstone dust on top of that. And down here now a temporary block, another slab going off from there. And a repeater going into this block, or into this part, which is also now getting its own block. Actually, we need two of them. And yeah, now it should all be looking like this. Another comparator on top of this block right here with some redstone dust coming out of it. And two torches over here. These are currently not going into anything, so we need to change that, and for that I also need another temporary block adjacent to the block right here, slab down below, and now I can remove that and put a few more blocks over here. One, just continuing this line of blocks, and now another one over here, and yeah, that's kind of it for that. We also need another line of slabs starting at the downwards facing piston and just going over to the block that we just placed, and now we can put down all the redstone on the lower slab right here, going up like this and across to this block, and this means they are all now fully connected, being able to influence the piston right here. So last but not least, we need another comparator right here facing from this hopper. So we put down another slab right here. And yeah, this thing on top. From here we need another block that the comparator can point into. That's getting its own torch on the side, a block on the top. And this is now the only slab that really actually needs to be a slab, because that one goes right here and another one adjacent. We don't want it to power and therefore block the hopper right here, so that needed to be a slab so that it doesn't put the power in there. But yeah, that's the entire thing being done right now. Looks like it's all complete. We still just need to program this one hopper here, because this one is actually going to input two types of items. And so if we don't waste stuff, we are going to put down some shovels right here. The only thing that really matters is that redstone dust goes into the first slot and cobblestone goes into any other. You can order this how you want. This is just as good as the thing that I just did. But yeah, this is how the entire thing needs to look in the end. 3 shovels, redstone dust in the first slot, and cobblestone in any of the other slots. And this is now good to go as long as you fill it up correctly. So this one needs to have redstone dust in there. Just like this. These ones needs to have cobblestone. Same with the other one right here. Don't really need to fill it up fully, but here we go. And one of these needs to have a string, the other one needs sticks. It doesn't really matter which one has which. That's really not that important. Just make sure you always fill it up with the same stuff again. And yeah, of course, you could now also put the 5 things on top here. Oops, don't really need that over there. Slight misclick, doesn't matter too much. But yeah, here we go. You could now also label the thing with all the different resources, and all you need to do at this point is hit the node block and it should start crafting. Yep, that's the dispensers coming out of it. Should be ready to go for a long time, so yeah, the entire thing just works from now on. And with that all being said, thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed and found this useful. Until next time, whenever that is, I don't do redstone stuff regularly anymore, but whenever I come up with something cool, I'll let you know. So until then, thanks for watching, have a good one, and bye bye.